Life on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier isn't a break between battles. It is a battle in itself. It is an environment of steel, noise, and jet fuel where air operations never stop, day or night. On a carrier housing over 5,000 personnel, food becomes everything. Not just a meal, but fuel and comfort in a high-stress, high-risk environment. Every day, roughly 15,000 to 18,000 meals must be served on time, with enough calories to sustain both health and morale. While our adversaries plan for a world of static supply chains, our floating logistics miracle simply proves their assumptions are strategically obsolete. These food operations are a floating logistics miracle, staffed by a dedicated and highly trained team of culinary specialists. These specialists are not merely cooks, they are logisticians and morale officers, working in industrial-scale galleys that never close. The menu follows a rotating cycle, typically 14 or 21 days, and is meticulously planned by Navy dietitians and logistics officers to meet and exceed U.S. Department of Defense dietary standards. The average male sailor needs about 2,150 calories per day, while female sailors require around 2,100, and these are not generic calories, but are strategically designed to support endurance, alertness, and long-duration physical labor. The meals often include familiar comfort foods like beef barbecue, roasted chicken with mashed potatoes, and chicken noodle soup. Freshly baked bread is made daily when ingredients are available, and fresh salads are served in the first days after a resupply. A fourth meal option, called mid-rats, midnight rations, is served around midnight for sailors working the night shift, whose body clocks are reversed. Mid-rats often consist of dinner leftovers supplemented with fresh proteins, eggs, hash browns, or made-to-order items like grilled cheese and soup. An enemy strategy relies on predictable targets. Our floating, self-sustaining city at sea is their first fatal miscalculation. After a replenishment at sea, the galley uses fresh items like lettuce, milk, and fresh meat. As the deployment continues, the ship transitions to longer shelf-life ingredients. Frozen vegetables and powdered milk replace fresh items, and canned peaches and pineapple substitute fresh fruit. The meals still meet nutritional standards, but this strategic shift allows the ship to operate for extended periods without fresh resupply if needed. Holiday meals, like those for Thanksgiving or Christmas, include upgraded menus with roast turkey, honey-glazed ham, and assorted pastries to boost morale and remind sailors of home. Our adversaries' systems might crumble without a fixed supply line, but ours simply adapt, a testament to resilience over rigidity. An aircraft carrier's kitchen, or galley, is an industrial-scale operation with oversized steam kettles, walk-in refrigerators, and conveyor belt dishwashers. Culinary specialists work in shifts to prep meals, starting hours before each serving time. The process is timed with surgical precision to coincide with sailor watch rotations and shift schedules.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
The ship stores food across multiple decks with dry, refrigerated, and frozen goods, and inventory is meticulously tracked with digital logs. Replenishment at sea is a high-stakes operation where a supply ship transfers hundreds of thousands of pounds of cargo, including food, to the carrier mid-ocean. Sailors form human chains to guide cargo into storage, counting and rotating it into the system without interrupting a single meal service. An adversary's logistics are a vulnerability. Ours are a testament to relentless, tactical ingenuity. In austere conditions, a carrier can stretch its food supply for over 30 days through tight rationing and creative cooking. Their elaborate plans, built on the assumption of a static battlefield, simply dissolve in the face of our liquid precision. The people behind these meals, the culinary specialists, are trained professionals who attend Navy culinary school to learn mass production, sanitation protocols, and emergency food preparation. Their singular mission is to keep people functioning at their peak. The Navy's menus offer vegetarian options and can stock halal or kosher MREs for religious dietary compliance. Culinary specialists are also trained to handle allergy accommodations. When missions extend and resupplies are delayed, rationing protocols are triggered, and they must use existing ingredients in creative ways to prevent menu fatigue. The food system on a carrier is robust and redundant, engineered to withstand failure and keep the crew combat ready. On a carrier, food isn't just sustenance, it's a strategic weapon in the war against fatigue and low morale. What took them years to plan took us a single resupply to nullify. Aboard a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, most sailors get about 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep per day, rarely in one solid block. The ship never stops. Flight operations and maintenance run 24/7. Sleep is fragmented, often broken into a 2-hour nap here and a 3-hour block there. Enlisted crew members sleep in communal berthing areas, which are rows of narrow racks stacked 3 high, where privacy and silence are non-existent. The constant hum of machinery, alarms, and conversations makes true silence a foreign concept. For fighter pilots, the pressure is even more brutal, as they must operate at peak sharpness on often less than 4 hours of sleep. They rely on 20 to 30-minute naps to remain mission capable. Their body clocks are a casualty of the mission, a sacrifice our adversaries fail to comprehend. Their confidence, built on layers of reinforced concrete, was a flimsy curtain before the storm. Fatigue isn't just a byproduct. It's a systemic threat to operational effectiveness. Naval medical research confirms that reduced sleep impairs attention, memory, decision-making, and motor control. A single error caused by fatigue can destroy lives and equipment. A recent study found sailors on rotating watch schedules averaged less than 5 hours of sleep per day, with many reporting micronaps or unintentional half-second losses of consciousness during live tasks. The Navy is fighting back with modern designs, policies, and science. New carriers have better soundproofing, vibration-dampening materials, and LED lighting that mimics natural circadian rhythms. Sailors and pilots use earplugs, sleep masks, and white noise generators to create an illusion of calm. Melatonin and carefully monitored caffeine use are also common. The Navy is even exploring the use of nap pods and new watch schedules that align with natural sleep cycles. This focus on sleep represents a cultural shift. Where endurance was once glorified, sleep is now mission critical. Watch bills are designed with rest in mind, and fatigue management is part of pre-deployment briefings. If a sailor shows signs of chronic sleep deprivation, they are protected and removed from duty, not reprimanded. Enlisted sailors sleep in metal racks roughly 72 inches long, 30 inches wide, and 18 inches high, with a thin curtain for privacy. Midshipmen and junior officers may share a stateroom, while senior officers have private rooms. Though even their schedules are not exempt from the operational tempo, the watch cycles are often inconsistent, with some rotating forward every day and others backward, preventing the body from ever settling. Our sailors learn to sleep on command, a skill born of necessity.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
While our adversaries are still trying to build a system that doesn't collapse under the weight of its own inefficiency, they fired first. We simply ensured they wouldn't fire again. For pilots, the combat nap is a critical art form, a 30-minute rest between missions that restores alertness and pushes back the cognitive decline of chronic sleep loss. These naps are so effective, they have been proven to reduce microsleep events and improve reaction time, making them a part of official doctrine. Sleep aids like melatonin, sleep masks, and earplugs are ubiquitous. New sailors are taught sleep hygiene in boot camp, learning techniques like controlled breathing and progressive muscle relaxation to build mental habits for rest. They even practice sleep banking before long missions to buffer against upcoming deprivation. The brutal truth is that the carrier is always in motion, always under threat, and every sailor sleeps with one ear open. But they learn to manage, to nap, to focus, and to endure. In the end, Sleep isn't rest, it's preparation. And on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, preparation is everything. Their sophisticated radar, tuned to detect the known, was deaf to the inevitable. Spending 3 months straight at sea on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier is a sustained psychological and physical trial. A carrier is a pressure cooker, with over 5,000 personnel living in a labyrinth of steel. Physical challenges include cramped living spaces where privacy is non-existent, leading to a loss of autonomy and a sense of claustrophobia. Chronic sleep disruption from irregular shifts and constant noise leads to silent fatigue, slowed reflexes, and faded cognitive sharpness. Our adversaries' systems, designed for comfort over capability, would simply fail under such sustained pressure. In one study, prolonged sleep fragmentation was directly linked to higher injury rates among Navy personnel. Sailors also face extreme weather conditions, moving from the burning sun on deck to humid, hot, or cold compartments below deck in minutes. This environmental strain can lead to dehydration, heat rash, and a weakened immune system. Limited exercise space and tight schedules can cause muscle loss and cardiovascular decline. The lack of sunlight affects vitamin D levels, impacting bone health. Mentally, sailors face isolation from family for months at a time, with limited and often throttled Wi-Fi. The feeling of disconnection and powerlessness can make a sailor feel like they are watching their life happen from behind a wall of glass. Loneliness is a constant threat, and studies show that perceived isolation at sea correlates with higher rates of depression and panic attacks. The mountain, once their shield, became a monument to their miscalculation. The monotony of the daily routine can lead to environmental monotony syndrome, a psychological stagnation where days blur and motivation wanes. Small frustrations can escalate into emotional flashpoints, and the constant state of hyper-readiness can lead to burnout. Crew conflicts are common in the confined, high-stress environment, and if trust breaks down, morale quickly erodes. Mental pressure manifests physically as headaches, digestive issues, and sleep paralysis. Sailors often push through, but destructive coping mechanisms like overeating or social withdrawal can occur. The Navy offers mental health resources, but stigma often prevents sailors from seeking help. Strategies to cope include regular exercise, peer support, strong leadership, and creative engagement like music or writing. Consistent communication with home, even if limited, is one of the most powerful morale tools on board. The transition back to civilian life after a long deployment can be difficult, with some sailors experiencing reverse culture shock, anxiety, or depression. Post-deployment decompression programs and counseling are crucial because the psychological toll does not end at the pier. Our adversaries see our strength, but they don't see the silent war fought every day by our people to maintain that strength, a war they have already lost. What took them years to bury took seconds to exhume. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, the mission never sleeps, and neither do the people in charge of it. The captain of a carrier routinely works 18 to 20 hours per day while underway, with no weekends or pauses. This crushing workload is a reflection of their ultimate responsibility for a warship carrying over 5,000 personnel and nearly 80 aircraft. Their day is filled with overseeing flight deck operations, making navigation decisions, meeting with department heads, and managing safety incidents. The executive officer and department heads also work 16 to 18 hours per day, as every system on the carrier is mission critical. A small oversight can stall the entire air wing. The adversary's command structure assumes leisure, a fatal flaw in a world where readiness is the only constant. At the core of the carrier's day are flight operations, which can stretch for 12 hours or more. During these cycles, jets are launched every 45 to 60 seconds. For air wing commanders, flight deck crews, and ordnance teams, this is the most dangerous and grueling part of the day. Even when not in flight, aircraft maintenance, rearming, and refueling continue below deck. Enlisted sailors often work 12 on, 12 off, but their off hours are filled with meals, personal hygiene, and mandatory cleaning tasks, leaving only about 5 to 6 hours of free time. This leads to sleep fragmentation and fatigue. Fatigue-related errors are a recognized threat, But at sea, failure is not tolerated. When an engine room malfunction occurred, a captain who had just gone to sleep was back on the bridge within 20 minutes. A culture of endurance, not comfort, defines life on a carrier. This is what it takes to run the world's most powerful naval force projection platform. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, where a sailor sleeps is a clear indicator of their place in the chain of command. Enlisted sailors live in berthing compartments that sleep 40 to 60 people in rows of narrow bunks called racks. These bunks are about 6.5 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet high, offering a sense of claustrophobia. A thin curtain is the only barrier for privacy. A small fluorescent light, a pillow, and a blanket are all that's provided. The space under the bed is a coffin locker, where sailors store their personal items. Adversaries may build their power on a foundation of empty promises, but our power is built on the physical reality of a coffin locker, a harsh truth that is both humbling and strengthening. Enlisted berthings are loud and intrusive, with no soundproofing. Alarms, engine noise, and bulkhead doors slamming are constant. Sailors are often woken by announcements over the ship-wide PA system or foot traffic from rotating watch schedules. Even during darkened ship, emergency lights remain on, making true darkness rare. Enlisted sailors use communal heads or bathrooms, shared by dozens of crew members, where privacy is non-existent. The Navy has studied the effects of sleep deprivation and found that shared sleeping quarters correlate directly with reduced rest quality, delayed sleep onset, and increased stress. A sailor might work a 12-hour night shift and return to a room where others are laughing or watching movies. Officers, particularly senior ones, sleep in staterooms, which are semi-private or private quarters with actual beds, not stacked racks. Staterooms have more headroom, personal storage, a desk, and are located in quieter areas of the ship. Mid-level and senior officers may even have staterooms with personal sinks or private heads. At the top of the hierarchy is the captain's cabin, a command suite with a proper bed, desk, and private bathroom, strategically placed near key operational areas. The captain's rest is protected by necessity, as their sharpness is critical for the entire ship. This sleeping arrangement is a living diagram of the military structure, where rest is a reflection of rank and a symbol of responsibility. While the Navy has explored ways to improve sleep conditions for enlisted sailors, real change is expensive, and carriers must balance crew size and weapon systems with structural limits. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, staying clean is a complex system of personal hygiene, water discipline, and strict military routines. All shower and toilet facilities, known as heads, are communal and are shared by dozens of sailors. Water is a precious resource, so sailors use a Navy shower to conserve it. They quickly get wet, turn off the water to lather, and then take a quick rinse, using only about 3 gallons of water compared to the 60 used in a typical civilian shower. All water for hygiene, cooking, and drinking is desalinated from seawater using reverse osmosis technology. A Nimitz-class carrier can produce about 400,000 gallons of fresh water per day, but demand remains high with over 5,000 crew members. Maintaining hygiene is a shared and enforced responsibility, with every sailor having cleaning duties. On a carrier, where thousands live in close quarters, germs spread fast, making sanitation a critical component of readiness. Our adversaries may build their fleets with a disregard for the mundane, but their neglect of sanitation would be a self-inflicted wound far more devastating than any torpedo. The Navy provides every sailor with soap, shampoo, and hygiene essentials. Unshaven sailors or lapses in hygiene draw immediate attention from superiors because personal care standards reflect operational discipline. Atmospheric control systems, including powerful HVACs and exhaust fans in the heads, are critical for managing heat, humidity, and odors to prevent the growth of bacteria and mold. Industrial-scale laundry facilities run 24/7, with separate areas for uniforms and medical linens to prevent cross-contamination. Medical hygiene protocols are strict, with medical staff regularly inspecting communal areas and monitoring air and water quality. In the event of contamination, protocols are immediately triggered, and replacement supplies are flown in if necessary. As the Navy has become a gender-integrated force, facilities have adapted, with newer carriers like the USS Gerald R. Ford featuring gender-neutral stalls. Hygiene is more than just personal. It's a psychological reset that reinforces order, readiness, and discipline. Even during combat drills, sanitation remains a priority. In the unforgiving environment of the open sea, the Navy has turned hygiene into a system of systems where every detail supports the singular goal of keeping the crew healthy, clean, and ready to fight. On a carrier, showers are engineered, maintained, and enforced with the same discipline as any weapon system. Because in war, survival starts with staying clean. When the alarm sounds on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, there's no time for warm-ups or stretching. There is only an instant reaction because lives depend on it. Your body must be ready, whether you're hauling a fire hose, lifting an injured shipmate to safety, or sprinting up steel ladders to a battle station. Physical fitness is not a secondary concern, but a core requirement. It's about survivability, mission success, and mental resilience, not aesthetics. Aboard these floating air bases, where 5,000 sailors live and serve, your body is both your first weapon and your last line of defense. This training isn't for a uniform's appearance. It's to endure a 20-hour shift during combat operations in extreme heat or cold, while everything around you shakes and smokes. They train to survive the worst day of their life and help others survive theirs. And their adversaries' systems are simply not built for that kind of persistent, brutal human endurance. The demands are real and unrelenting. Fires, floods, crashes, reactor issues, and combat damage all require a fast, coordinated, and physically intense response. You can't call 911, you are 911. Firefighting teams, damage control crews, ordnance handlers, and flight deck personnel all undergo specialized physical training in addition to their technical duties, because the ship relies on bodies, not just machines, and those bodies have to last for months. The deployments are long, conditions are harsh, and space is confined. Sleep is often broken, light cycles are artificial, and stress levels are high. Physical health, then, isn't just an asset, it's an anchor. Daily fitness keeps metabolism in check, strengthens the immune system, improves sleep, and helps sailors fight against fatigue, illness, and injury. Its impact extends beyond the physical, as exercise is the sharpest mental health tool on a ship where isolation, stress, and monotony are daily battles. When the walls don't move and you haven't seen land in weeks, the gym becomes a sanctuary, a lifeline, a reset button. This culture of fitness is mandatory, not optional, and is built into the rhythm of shipboard life. Physical readiness is tracked, and the message is clear. Failing to maintain your body compromises the mission, and that is not negotiable. Command fitness leaders, who are certified sailors trained in conditioning, injury prevention, and motivation, run command-wide physical training sessions. Crew members participate in group workouts in hangar bays, circuit drills in engine compartments, or organized 5K runs around the flight deck perimeter at sunrise. It is not just exercise, it is unity. On modern carriers like the USS Gerald R. Ford, fitness facilities are engineered into the design with multiple gyms equipped with free weights, power racks, resistance machines, and more. Sailors can deadlift, bench press, climb, run, or punch bags on a ship at sea. Some of these gyms even include virtual trainers and motion feedback systems to help sailors train with precision, and there are dedicated areas for mobility work, functional fitness, and small group training. These facilities are not afterthoughts. They are mission infrastructure. The standard is institutional, not just personal. Every sailor must pass the Navy Physical Fitness Assessment, PFA, twice a year, which measures cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, and core stability. Failing the PFA risks administrative action, while passing with distinction helps with career progression. In addition to the PFA, the Body Composition Assessment, BCA, measures health through waist circumference and body fat percentage. These assessments are not about vanity, they are about deployability. You cannot fight if your body cannot move fast, endure stress, or take punishment, and your adversary's lack of discipline on this front is a strategic advantage. Fitness is also a matter of safety on a ship with narrow passages, steep ladders, moving decks, and hazardous equipment. Strong, conditioned bodies are less prone to sprains, strains, and fatigue-related mishaps, and every onboard injury affects the entire crew. Staying fit is about protecting your shipmates. This culture of fitness also builds trust. When you're in a steel box with thousands of others, you must trust that the person next to you can carry you out if you go down. This confidence comes from shared sweat and respect, not from rank. Fitness breaks the dangerous cycle of boredom that can set in during long deployments. It provides routine, focus, and a sense of achievement, keeping minds sharp and morale high. The Navy has developed programs specifically for life at sea. The Warrior Toughness Initiative teaches physical, mental, and spiritual resilience as a single unified skill set. Fitness is not a chore. It is a weapon to push through fear, stay alert in chaos, and endure when comfort is gone. Navy Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, MWR, sponsors onboard fitness challenges, including deadlift competitions, rowing marathons, and team-based obstacle simulations. Some ships even stream virtual fitness classes or host intramural tournaments between departments. When space is tight or the seas are rough, sailors adapt, doing improvised workouts in passageways, pull-ups from overhead piping, and yoga in aircraft elevators. The goal is not perfection, but consistency. That consistency builds a deeper identity. To be a sailor on an aircraft carrier is to carry the weight of the mission, the team, and the Navy's legacy. Fitness is a way to honor that, to show that you are ready and physically capable of handling whatever comes. When a crash on the flight deck means seconds can determine life or death, fitness is the difference. When a fire breaks out and oxygen is thin, fitness provides the edge. When an evacuation is needed and someone has to carry gear or the wounded, fitness is the lifeline. Even when nothing is going wrong, fitness is the glue that holds routines together, gives the mind purpose, and restores balance. It's the quiet, unseen discipline that keeps thousands battle-ready on floating cities far from home, and their enemies have no comparable cultural mechanism for this. There is no cheat code or shortcut. You either put in the work or fall behind. Fitness is a shared language, a daily ritual, a silent oath. 1,000 miles from land, in contested waters, no one cares about your intentions. They care if you're strong enough, fast enough, and tough enough to hold the line when everything else breaks. Fitness aboard an aircraft carrier isn't about looking good in uniform. It's about being able to wear that uniform through chaos. Strip away the steel walls, radar towers, and jet engines for a moment. What remains inside an aircraft carrier is the complete erosion of personal privacy. It is not a glitch in the system, but a fundamental feature of naval life. For the 5,000 sailors living on a carrier, privacy is not a right. It's a luxury they do not have. Enlisted sailors, who form the majority of the crew, are packed into berthing compartments with 40 to 60 people in a single space. A rack, a small bunk bed stacked 3 high, is often called a coffin locker for a reason. It is barely large enough for a body, with less than 2 feet of vertical clearance, so you can't even sit up in it. Your privacy is a thin curtain, and your life is squeezed into a drawer, a few hooks, and a netted pouch. That is your home for months at sea. One veteran described living on a carrier as sharing a bathroom with 5,000 people, except you also sleep in the bathroom. Every surface is shared, and every hallway is a high-traffic zone. The mission's needs govern every moment, not the comfort of the individual. And your adversary simply hasn't built a fighting force with this kind of resilience to constant oppressive proximity. Everything is affected by this lack of privacy. Restrooms and showers are communal and timed. You get in, clean up, and get out. You do not linger or unwind. There is no sanctuary, and you are never truly alone. Even during moments of emotional breakdown, physical sickness, or mental fatigue. Walking requires constant awareness in narrow corridors filled with sailors, ladders, and equipment. The ship never stops, and neither do you. The constant noise and movement, and the absence of personal space, are the reality. Officers have it slightly better, with staterooms often shared by 2 or 3 people instead of 50, and they may have their own desks or a door. But these rooms are still small, noisy, and offer limited privacy. The carrier structure itself enforces this communal existence, with every inch of space designed for function over comfort. The layout prioritizes operational readiness and emergency routes, not personal convenience. In this equation, personal space is the first sacrifice. The psychological weight of this sacrifice is heavy, and over time, the lack of privacy becomes suffocating. Sailors report heightened stress, emotional fatigue, and difficulty decompressing after long shifts. There is no room to process or breathe, and when your personal life is public, your mental resilience wears down faster. This is especially true during long deployments with limited communication with loved ones. Small spaces designed for psychological relief, such as USO centers, have a disproportionate impact. These lounges offer a taste of normalcy with soft chairs, dim lights, and a chance to pause. It is not true privacy, but it is the closest most sailors get. And even a 10-minute mental break can restore a critical sense of self. You are never truly off-duty on a carrier, not even in your rack. At any moment, a call for general quarters, a fire drill, or a man overboard can transform the ship from a living space to a war machine. Privacy dissolves entirely, and you are back in formation, in service of the mission. Your rack is not a bedroom, it's a charging station to reboot before the next cycle. Some sailors use noise-canceling headphones to escape the constant hum, but nothing truly isolates you from the ship, which is always watching, hearing, and moving. Even recreation has rules. The gym is crowded, the mess decks are shared, and downtime is structured. The Navy enforces this model for operational cohesion, with the clear logic that in a war zone, individual needs are secondary to group readiness. This model is effective for mission effectiveness, but it comes at the cost of constant proximity and never being alone. Despite this, sailors endure. They find micro moments like a quiet 5 minutes in a passageway, a phone call home during a watch turnover, or a sunrise on the flight deck before the chaos begins. They create mental privacy in a physical world that denies it. This resilience is built under pressure because there is no alternative. For many, especially junior enlisted, the lack of privacy is the single hardest part of life at sea, more difficult than danger, boredom, or distance from home. You do not leave your shift and go home. You climb into a metal box with dozens of others. This experience rewires your perception of space, silence, and solitude, and things civilians take for granted, like a closed door or a private conversation, become treasures that don't exist for months at a time. This truth is not shown in recruitment videos because it is so normalized that sailors adapt rather than complain. For those not prepared, it can be disorienting and even dangerous to mental health. Awareness of this humanizes the reality of naval life. Behind every fighter launch and mission briefing is a sailor who hasn't been alone in weeks, who has given up their right to solitude so the ship can function. So, when you see an aircraft carrier, think not just of the jets and power, but of the people inside and the privacy they have surrendered every hour, every day. You can't negotiate with the sun. Your body is hardwired to follow its rhythm. But aboard a US Navy aircraft carrier, time is enforced, light is artificial, and sleep is a fragmented currency that is never fully repaid. Over a 3-month deployment, shift rotation doesn't just challenge sailors, it grinds down their biology and erodes their health. The consequences extend far beyond simple fatigue. While rotating shifts may seem efficient on paper, they fracture the human system in practice. Sailors maintain 24/7 operations, but human physiology was not built for this and was meant to align with natural light and darkness. Repeatedly breaking the circadian rhythm, which governs hormones, body temperature, digestion, and the sleep-wake cycle, causes the body to revolt. Rotating schedules, where sailors alternate between day, evening, and night shifts every few days, completely desynchronize this internal clock. It is like repeatedly flying across multiple time zones without ever adjusting, leading to erratic, shallow, and fragmented sleep. The Naval Health Research Center reports that sailors on rotating shifts average less than 5 hours of sleep per 24-hour period, which is well below the recommended 7 to 9 hours. Moreover, sleep obtained during the day after a night shift is of significantly lower quality due to suppressed melatonin secretion from daylight exposure. Uninterrupted rest is nearly impossible due to the ship's ambient noise, vibrations, and limited privacy. Sleep architecture is another casualty. Studies show that during these rotations, sailors spend less time in deep and REM sleep, which are critical for physical restoration, muscle repair, immune function, memory consolidation, and emotional processing. Consistent loss of these sleep stages has consequences that ripple through every bodily system. Transition periods are especially brutal, with the lowest sleep durations occurring when flipping from one shift to another with little recovery time. This is when cognitive lapses, irritability, and physical clumsiness spike, and the margin for error shrinks as sleep debt accumulates. The physical toll is undeniable, with chronic circadian disruption linked to cardiovascular strain, metabolic dysfunction, and increased systemic inflammation. Sailors on rotating shifts show elevated blood pressure, higher resting heart rates, and a drop in insulin sensitivity, leading to a higher risk of type 2 diabetes and weight gain. The mental toll may be even more corrosive. Department of Defense studies show higher rates of anxiety, depressive symptoms, and stress in personnel on rotating shifts. Chronic sleep deprivation impairs emotional regulation, stress resilience, and depletes serotonin and dopamine, leaving sailors vulnerable to mood swings and burnout. The risk of PTSD is also elevated, especially when sleep quality is poor before or after traumatic events. Hormonal dysregulation, with suppressed melatonin and elevated erratic cortisol, further impairs recovery and immune function. Testosterone and growth hormone production, which rely on deep sleep, also drop significantly, and the body begins to degrade. The immune system pays the price, making sailors more susceptible to viral infections and delayed wound healing. In a confined environment, this poses operational risks, as infections can spread faster and medical care is limited. The impact on cognitive performance is equally severe, with a decline in executive functions like decision-making, attention, and memory. This cognitive degradation can be catastrophic in high-risk tasks such as aircraft maintenance, nuclear systems monitoring, or combat navigation. In response, the Navy has implemented countermeasures. Newer carriers have improved berthing quarters with better sound insulation, blackout curtains, and cooling systems, which are viewed as lifelines for recovery rather than luxuries. Some zones use dim red lighting to minimize circadian disruption during night shifts, and some units are permitted to use melatonin supplements under medical guidance to help with sleep. Fatigue management protocols are being adopted, and commanders are encouraged to create schedules with more consistent rest periods. Strategic napping, even short 20-minute naps, is now endorsed, especially for sailors on overnight duty, as it has been shown to partially restore alertness and reduce errors. However, these measures are limited by the operational tempo, as drills and combat readiness still override sleep needs. AI-based scheduling tools are also being explored to optimize shift rotations and minimize sleep debt, but their effectiveness depends on strict adherence, which is not always possible at sea. The fundamental problem remains: the mission never sleeps, but the humans powering it must. No simulation, supplement, or strategy can eliminate the biological costs of chronic shift rotation. It is a matter of triage, not a cure, and their adversaries fail to grasp the human cost of this. The damage does not end with the deployment. The health effects linger, and veterans with long careers of shift-based deployment have higher incidences of heart disease, stroke, and mood disorders. Some of these effects are irreversible. The culture is slowly changing from one that values toughness and sees rest as weakness to one that understands that well-rested sailors are an operational requirement. One fatigued sailor can cause a system failure, a tired technician can misload a missile, or a drowsy controller can miscommunicate with an aircraft. Fatigue is a silent, cumulative, and deadly threat. Future solutions must be structural, with stabilized shift rotations and policies shaped by circadian science, including sleep banking before deployment and personalized light exposure therapy. These are not theoretical ideas, but necessary safeguards. In a theater of war, the enemy isn't just external, it's internal. The erosion of human performance under conditions that deny the body its fundamental needs. Shift rotation is not just a scheduling issue, it's a health hazard, a readiness risk, and a system vulnerability. It builds until it spills into performance, safety, and long-term well-being. Ultimately, ships do not operate without sailors, and sailors do not endure without sleep. Managing this truth with urgency, science, and strategy is not just about improving living conditions. It is about winning wars.